Do you ever feel like your brain just doesn't work the way it used to? Like you can't really focus, you're bored of everything, and even resting doesn't really feel like rest anymore. And it's not that you've changed, your brain has changed. Social media has literally rewired it, and unless you start unrotting your brain now, you're just gonna keep feeling more anxious, more distracted, and more disconnected from your real life. So today I wanna show you how to exit your brain rot era and get your focus, peace, and imagination back before it's too late. But really, it's never too late. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Nika, welcome. I make videos all about self-improvement, but I like to make them very actionable. Like here are the tips, the tricks, the actual to-do list to actually make a difference that you're really gonna notice. So if that works for you, I would love for you to stick around and subscribe. And you can also check out my Instagram if you wanna see more of my personal life. The best way to keep a prisoner from escaping is to make sure he never knows he's in prison. That's a Dostoevsky quote that is probably a little dramatic and a little doom and gloom, but it's really starting to feel that way. It feels like social media is our prison and it's just taking and taking and taking. It's stealing our attention, our imagination, our focus, our memory, authenticity, creativity, real life connection, and so much more. Our brains have to absorb unreasonable amounts of information every single day, from different opinions, thoughts, lifestyles, and even emotions just by scrolling on TikTok for 10 minutes. And if all we're doing is absorbing, are we actually living a life that's ours? Obviously, it's natural for our opinions and our personalities to be influenced by the outside world, but this now is at a completely different level. Are we actually in tune with who we are, and are we intentional about how we live our lives? Or are we just absorbing and mirroring what we bombard our brains with all the time? By scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, our brain starts to crave stimulation like it's sugar. And you really get to a point where you're bored of things that you used to love to do. Because it's the easiest thing in the world to grab your phone and escape and be distracted for really as long as you want. And when you think about it, it really is the perfect addiction. As long as you have a phone, it costs nothing. It's again so easy and effortless, and it's also socially acceptable. It genuinely scares me. And this is coming from someone who has a lot of benefits from social media. I have my whole career due to social media, so obviously there's many positives and benefits, but I genuinely worry about our brains, our quality of life, our health, and especially like I'm 27, I've always wanted a family. I worry about my kids growing up in this world and what that will do to their brains. Like imagine how your brain would form if you got shoved an iPad or an iPhone before you could even speak. And the reality is that this is already happening to so many children, and it is terrifying, especially now with AI being more and more prevalent. Like it genuinely scares me. The good news is that our habits are in our control, and it really is never too late. So here are the wake-up calls, the antidotes, and other helpful information that has been so necessary for me, and it still is moving forward. One thing that I've definitely realized about myself is that I spend way too much time on social media and behind a screen when I'm not doing well emotionally, mentally, I'm in a rut, or I'm stressed or overwhelmed, and social media is just such an easy and effortless escape. I can be distracted for a while and forget about my problems or avoid whatever is going on for as long as I want to. But the thing is that I always feel so much worse afterwards. After like a long brain rotting episode, girly is not well. Obviously, it's much healthier to deal with the problems we're facing head on, or just address whatever is going on. That's the actual reason behind why we crave social media so much. I feel like that can sometimes be really hard to figure out on our own. So I feel like therapy can be so helpful. So whether you're struggling with brain rot, a rut, a social media addiction, loneliness, social burnout, or just feeling off, therapy can be that steady support system that you're craving. A therapist can help you understand what's really going on emotionally and guide you through those harder seasons. And therapy really isn't just for those times when things fall apart. It's also for moments when something just feels off and you can't really explain why. BetterHelp is the paid partner of today's video, and they're making it easier to start therapy from anywhere online. Just fill out a short questionnaire and get matched with a credentialed therapist in as little as a few days. And if your first therapist isn't a good fit, you can switch anytime at no extra cost. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 Trustpilot rating, anything, BetterHelp is definitely a platform you can trust. So click the link in the description box or go to betterhelp.com/Nika and get 10% off your first month of therapy. First, we need a bit of a dramatic wake-up call and reality check. So we're gonna figure out how much of your life is it really taking, and that can be a little terrifying, to be completely honest, so I'm warning you in advance, but it is so powerful, so I highly suggest you do this now. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at the daily screen time on your phone, and then you're gonna calculate how much that is in a year. So an average American spends a little over 5 hours on their phones. So that ends up being 1,825 hours per year, which is 76 days, which is 2.5 months. And now that includes the time when you're sleeping, okay? So if we take that out of the equation, so we just look at the awake time, that would be 3.8 months. So that would mean that you spend 3.8 months of your awake time in a year on your phone. I don't know about you, but that makes me sick. The other part of this reality check is you're gonna answer 2 questions. And again, I highly recommend you do this now. So the first question is, when are you your favorite self? And then the second question is, when do you feel the most alive? This is gonna give you a lot of insight into how you actually wanna spend your time, what you actually enjoy doing, what is actually fulfilling, how you wanna show up in this world, who you are at your core, how would you ideally be spending your free time, and what is a life full of passion and fulfillment for you. And you know you have a problem when that list of those 2 questions is completely different to how you're spending your time, especially your free time now. And since a lot of us are wasting it on social media and rotting our brains away, we don't really have much of a free time anymore. When that list is how your actual life looks like, you know that you're living according to your core values and in accordance to what is actually important and meaningful and fulfilling to you. And that is a life that at the end of the day, we all want to be living. Like when I'm on my deathbed, and again, this is going to sound a bit dramatic, I don't want to feel like I wasted so much of my life away due to my phone and social media. I want to feel like I lived a life full of passion and meaning and fulfillment. And the reality is that due to social media, a lot of us are not doing that at all. I did warn you that this is a little terrifying, okay? It's not enjoyable. It's a wake-up call for a reason. It's not fluffy and warm and amazing, but we do need it. A lot of us do. But again, the good news is that this is in our control. Our habits, the way we live our lives, what we choose to do with our time and energy is up to us. It's our responsibility. So let's rectify that. The first step is a reset. I really feel like this is an essential part of changing your social media habits because we're so used to being on our phones so much that it's hard to even imagine what our life looks like what would we be doing during that time. And again, social media is also beneficial in some ways. So a reset allows you to see which parts of it are actually fulfilling and beneficial to you and which parts you want to leave behind or heavily limit. Alright guys, it got a little too hot, so we changed. I'm really manifesting fall with my wardrobe and it's not really working, so anyway, let's get into the reset. In a perfect world, the reset would be to be completely off social media, also any kind of games that you might have on your phone, off of anything like that for a whole month. Obviously, choose something that's actually realistic to you that you can actually stick to. But I feel like a month is a really good time to really see what you're actually missing, like the things that actually have value. And then you also figure out ways that you would rather spend your free time and you're gonna be a little bored. And that's good, okay? Because we're not really bored anymore and it is having negative consequences, okay? And you might just discover or rediscover hobbies and habits that you kind of push to the side because being on your phone is more convenient. It's honestly amazing for you. And you also realize how much better you feel and how much more clear-headed you are. I would definitely keep a tab of like how you're feeling in a journal, your notes app, wherever, just so you can kind of revisit it when it gets a little bit hard. But finding hobbies is a great way to make sure that you're going to be doing well during that time and not be so bored that you want to go back on social media. I made a whole video about hobbies, so I'll link that down below if you need some ideas and inspo. So when you're done with your reset challenge of being off social media, you're going to do a digital declutter afterwards. Because again, during that time, you figure out what's actually beneficial, what has value, what is fulfilling to you, and what you want to remove from your life, and then how you want to limit those things that do have value, because again, social media is so addictive. So even if something is beneficial, you can definitely overdo it. So an example of what I did after my detox is I deleted TikTok off of my phone. I just realized that short form video content doesn't have a lot of value for me, and it's really the thing that is the most addictive and the thing that really doesn't make me feel good at all after I'm done using it. So that went off my phone. Instagram, I limited a lot by putting restrictions on myself. I unfollowed a lot of accounts. I muted a lot of accounts. So just putting systems in place to make sure that I'm not on it all the time. Another idea here is something I did with YouTube is to delete the app off of your phone, and then you can only use it on the computer. So get a little creative. There's also apps where you need to take a few breaths before you open the app, or it sets more strict restrictions and blocks on the apps. You can also create a setting where when you click your lock button 3 times, it turns your screen black and white, and that is a lot less exciting for us to look at. It's really not appealing, so you really don't spend a lot of time on your phone. It's a great hack. There's a lot of other ones that I shared in a different video, so I'll link that down below. But now I want to get into the real antidotes that really make the biggest difference. The first one I already kind of mentioned, and it's hobbies, but also self-education. A lot of us are bored of what we used to love just because it's not as easy and convenient and effortless as opening your phone and scrolling for as long as you want to. And so the real antidote is actually reclaiming your free time. There's so many different hobbies you can try out. They can be more intellectual, creative, or physical. But I don't know if you've noticed, I've definitely noticed this for myself, but when I feel like my life and especially my free time is very fulfilling, I have exciting things that I want to be doing, I spend way less time on social media. I don't have that itch that I need to scratch. Another style of hobbies that I would highly recommend is hobbies where you have to do things with your hands. That is very grounding, and it kind of forces you to be very present. And then when it comes to self-education, I feel like this is something we don't really value that much anymore because it takes effort. Again, it's not as easy as scrolling on your phone, but it is the real antidote to brain rot. So learning new information and processing it at a deeper level is one of, if not the top brain stimulating activities. Basically, it's good and healthy for our brains, and it helps to prevent cognitive decline, which I'm sure we all want. So it really is something that we should all be doing. Obviously, there's so many things you can start learning, and it should come from your actual interests. Obviously, you can teach them to yourself, or you can join classes. Things like learning a new language or learning a new instrument. If you're really interested in history, philosophy, psychology, I can't begin to name all the ways you can stimulate your brain by learning something new. Another way you can activate your brain more is by actually solving problems yourself. And the reason why I'm even mentioning this is because nowadays, so many of us use AI to solve every single issue in our lives, or we just call our friends or our family so they can just tell us what to do. We need to start using our brains again. Another way to do this is to have a self-reflection or self-awareness exercise. This can be through journaling, or just at the end of the day, you kind of mentally go through your day and you just review it basically. And that is also really good for our memory, which we are actively destroying. The second antidote is presence and intention. One way to practice this is to just sit with yourself and do nothing. Find ways to enjoy silence a lot more often throughout your days. Allow yourself to be bored. Reintroducing all of that is, first of all, really good for our health. It's really good for our nervous system. Obviously good for our brains to give them a break from all the information we've bombarded our brains with. It also helps us to relax, and all of that as well is really good for our creativity. When you're relaxed and when you're bored, a lot of ideas come to life. A great way to reintroduce all of this into your daily life is through routines. So things you do every single day anyway, things like your morning routine, the little habits you have in the mornings, your evening routine, when you're cooking, when you're eating, when you're going on your daily walk. Again, those simple things you do every day already, start doing them without any distraction, without social media, without noise. just being with yourself in the silence. Like at first it might be intimidating and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? The reset is going to help you with this because you're going to kind of force yourself to get used to it. But with time, it starts to be so incredibly relaxing. It feels like a spa for your brain. So you're not watching a Netflix show while you're cooking. You're not scrolling on TikTok while you're eating your breakfast. You're not listening to a podcast while you're walking. Like those simple things that you do every day, think of them as your like pillars for presence and intention. So that way you don't have to reintroduce new habits into your life. You just tweak the ones that you already have. That all helps you to live a lot more intentionally and to actually be present while you're doing those things. You enjoy the silence and the boredom that comes along with it sometimes. When you have these like pillars of these habits and routines where you're not engaging with social media with distraction, you're not multitasking, then when you decide to, let's say, watch a YouTube video, it's intentional. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go sit on my couch and I'm gonna watch this specific YouTube video. I need entertainment today. I need a laugh, so I'm gonna watch this. I have this problem in my life, so I'm gonna watch this. It's a lot more intentional. And this doesn't just apply to YouTube, it applies to all social media. But I feel like short form content is a lot less intentional because you go on it and then you just scroll and scroll. You're not actively choosing what you wanna watch. Whereas with YouTube and let's say Netflix and things like that, you're choosing it. So I feel like that's why you hear a lot of people who completely abandon social media. They don't use it anymore. They still use YouTube because you can be a lot more intentional with it. And I feel like it also often has a lot more value anyway. That's why it's also a lot easier to maintain a healthy relationship with a social media platform like YouTube as opposed to TikTok or Instagram. That's just something to think about. And the last antidote is connection. Real life connection. Obviously, one of the benefits of social media is you can connect with so many people. You can join communities. All of that is amazing, but nothing beats real life connection. And a lot of people in today's world started substituting a lot of the real life connections and the benefits you get with that with social media connection, which just does not feel the same to us as when you're with someone engaging in real life. So obviously an easy way to do this is to spend more time with your loved ones, your partner, your family, your friends, your pets. You can also join certain groups or classes in real life, obviously, or book clubs or anything like that. Obviously, this is going to depend on your interests and what's available in your area, but this really creates a much better social life and a much better free time as well. Start also communicating with people randomly, whether it's your mailman or the lady that's always at the grocery store. Like, just ask her, how are you doing today? Like, that actually feels so good to us, and it's something that used to be so normal that we're kind of leaving behind nowadays. And it really gives you the sense that you're a lot more social and a lot more connected to the community around you, which feels really, really good. And especially in this loneliness epidemic that we're in, it's so crucial. And even if it's like complimenting someone, or you see that someone is having a hard time and you help them carry their bags, or someone doesn't know which cake to choose and you know which one is the best one, like things like that. I have a whole video of how to like get better at communicating with people, so I'm gonna link that down below if you need help in that category. But it really is a huge antidote. And on the same topic, being more connected to yourself is also just as important. And that includes all the things we've already talked about today, whether it's hobbies, doing what you're passionate about, getting to know yourself better, reflecting on your decisions or your mistakes, following your goals or your intuition. It's really hard to have that connection with yourself when you're constantly escaping on social media, but it's really crucial for our happiness and our health and our overall fulfillment in our lives. I would love to hear if you have any other antidotes that I didn't mention, or anything that really, really helped you to limit your screen time as much as possible. Or if you're someone who's off social media completely, tell us your experience. I feel like most of us need help in this category, so I would love to hear your feedback. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd love for you to stick around and subscribe. You can also check out my Instagram if you want to see more of my personal life. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you really, really soon.